Everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuits. I'm going to show you guys how to make a custom mob. So, tentatively, I'm calling these mobs Willows. I don't know exactly what I'm going to ultimately call them, but they are just basically a little woodland fae type creature that is malicious. And my lore behind them is that whenever a witch or a dark force moves into an area and starts to corrupt the land, a lot of the fae start being born wrong. So, for example, brownies can be born messed up as these willows. And they're just a mashup of the corrupted woodland area they're in, or the corrupted swamp they're in, and the base creature that was being born, base type of fae, Sylvan. So, what I've done here is, this is just a toilet paper roll with some beads on it that I use when I'm doing bulk stuff. So I'm going to set that off to the side. Oh no, actually, let's get some super glue. And let's get some texture on these real quick. So when you're doing this kind of stuff, you want to be careful that you don't make a big mess. So what I'm doing is just getting... Hold on, my glue is plugged. Okay, I think I unplugged it. All right, there we go. Get a little dab of glue, rub it around. Doesn't have to be perfect. Sprinkle some baking soda on there. We're just going to do each one like that. Just a little bit of glue. One or two little drops, spread it around. Oops. Okay. And you don't want to make a big mess while you're doing this if you can help it. Okay, and we're not going to need these bases for a little while, so we can get rid of that. Close our glue up. I'm going to wipe my glue off and hope it doesn't glue itself shut again, so I don't have to keep cutting the nozzle off. That is my last tube of glue. Until I run downtown. So the basis of this is that we're going to make size small creatures, and they're not going to be what we would call spectacular, but they're going to be effective. So you want to get yourself something a little bit less than a ½ inch here. We're making 4. They don't have to be the same length. If they crack or break, that's okay. And then what we want to do is we want to get a little bit of tin foil and wrinkle it up. And you want to get a dab of hot glue on here, like that. Stick this on. And you get another dab of glue here. And roll that until it's closed. Okay? And you can just pull off whatever little bit is left over on the top and make it flat. And then on the bottom, just twist it into a little bump or a ball, something like this. So the top's pretty flat to where I cut it, honestly. And the bottom's a little bit of an added ball. And we're just going to do that a couple times and make a few of these. And these are going to be the torsos and the body part of our mob. You just want to make sure they're closed up. They're not going to come apart. Okay. Rip off your excess on the top. Get a little bit of that bottom, leave it there, and then twist that into shape to be its little, like, cod piece or whatever. Not an extravagant craft by any means, but any of us can do it. And any little weird textures or anything you create while doing this, that's okay. That's going to help your cause, I promise. I throw my tinfoil on the floor. There we go. And this doesn't have to be perfect either. Okay. Now you're probably not going to be able to use this part of your tinfoil for anything, so you can throw that away. All right. So for the next step, before we try to put these on bases, we need to create their limbs. And to do that, we're just going to get our little snippers. And you want to save that part, okay? So you want to get about, that's just a little bit under 3/4 of an inch. And these are going to be their feet, their legs. And these don't need to be perfect. You don't need to measure them all the same. But we do need 2 for each one. So what I got there, 4, 5, 6. We need one more, 8. Okay, and then you just want to get a pair of needle noses or something like that. And then snip those, or bend those like that. And all we're doing is making little legs. I don't know if any of you guys saw that Minecraft trailer, but it's pretty terrible. I don't want to see that. I have small children, so of course I probably will see it at some point, but I have no desire to see that. Of all the movies that are coming out, that is on the bottom of my list of things that are okay to watch. That looks stupid. So now we're going to get our little piece here and a dab of glue. And on the rounded part on the bottom, we're just going to kind of rub that around and get it stuck into that tin foil a little bit. We're going to do the same thing on this side. The smaller your dab, the better at this point. And we want these to be kind of like they're leaning forward. And then you're going to have little weird spots, and that's okay. For now, we're not worried about that. For now, what we want to do is we want to get rid of spider webs and any little weird sticky uppy spots, like that. And we want to get our baking soda and a spoon, and the tiniest dab of glue, and let it get on the stick, and let it get up to the knee, okay? Okay, something like that. So now you got a sturdy little body going. And we're just going to repeat that step multiple times. So to speed it up, what I'm doing is I'm just going to make a little smear on both sides to do this fast. And you want these guys hunched over. Well, I do. You might not. I want mine hunched over. Alright, that cooled too quickly. Okay. So we're just going to do the same thing. We're just going to get glue, rub it onto the knees so it's sturdy, bring it back up onto the butt. Oh, spider web. Okay, we can set that part off to the side for now. We'll blow those off. Oh, spider web we didn't burn off. See, you got to go back and burn off these spider webs or there's going to be a problem. Alright, so let's get our bases. And for the base, mounting on the bases, to make sure these are leaning forward in such a way that it works. First, you got to make sure your legs weren't spread out too far. And then you're just going to get some glue. Oops, maybe it's better to do it on here. And drop it from the feet so that it connects with the base. And sprinkle some baking soda into that. And you want these guys leaning forward, so make sure you take the time to accomplish that look while you're doing this. Okay. All right. So now they're pretty sturdy. They're not perfect, but they're sturdy-ish. And we'll come back and fix that later more as we're working on these. So, hold on, I got some super glue on my desk there that we don't want. It's going to create problems later. All right. So now you want to get their arms. And their arms are going to be pretty much half of this. Whatever was left. And for each one, you're just going to get their arm, bend it in half a little bit, and you want the longer part down and the shorter part to the arm, to the shoulder. And you're going to mount those. And we're going to do the same thing. Make some interesting different arm positions and stuff for these guys. You don't want it to look like four of the same miniature. So the legs are all a little bit different, the arms are all a little different. That's just what, you know. And now they don't have to sit exactly at the shoulder either. You can play with these a little bit and move them around, and they can go up and down, because essentially what we're trying to create is that the body of this thing is kind of like a warped, twisted, like gross log, and that the oh, I broke that one so much I can't use it, and that the these are not a perfect symmetrical created being. These are like a warped and twisted and horrible kind of amalgamation. I don't know if amalgamation is the right word. Somebody let me know down in the little typing spot there what you think about that. Okay. So some of these I have right up to the edge. Some of them I have down a little bit where you think the shoulder would be. But I just did it kind of randomly. So now we're just going to do the same thing. Get dab of glue. Drag it down. We're going to do that on the arms and the shoulders. Okay. All right, we lost one. That's okay. Getting right back on the base in no time. Oh, he's stuck to me. Okay. Get rid of that and that. There we go. I'm going to use the minor burning hand spell real quick. Just get the crap off there. Okay. We're just going to fix him real quick. Putting his legs back on the base. All right, now we want to make sure these legs are sturdy so that doesn't happen again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of glue around there, around each little leg. Make a little pile at each one. Okay. And then I'm just going to let glue run down his leg onto that pile and let it soak in. All right, so we have all our poses here, and they're going to be pretty sturdy when we're done. Ugh, gagging. Face full of whatever this stuff is. So for their heads, you can use whatever you kind of have. I'm going to use these skeleton heads, which are kind of big and silly, and I'm going to snip the back of that flat so it mounts the way I want it to, and then I'm just going to do any little cleanup work they need. So I just need 4 heads here. And I'm not even worried about snipping off seams and stuff on these. But I do want to make sure the back of the head is flat, so that it mounts well to the mini. And then I have a couple different kinds of heads here, because I'm just using whatever I have laying around. You could use soldiers if you wanted to, or anything really. And then for these ones, I'm just going to snip off any little weird extra bits I don't like. I'm going to clean up those little pieces. And I'm going to snip that back of the head flat. Now these skeletons have headbands, and in the long run, that's not going to be, a big issue. So what I really want what I want heads for, instead of beads or something, it's because they already have some kind of texture of a face, and that's what really matters to me at this point, is that. Okay, so I've got my 4 heads. They're not all identical. And what I want to do is I want to, on each model, place the head a little differently. So on the first one here, my goal is to mount it in such a way that it's like that. And I'm going to do that to each one. Just give them a little different look. Okay. And on this one, I'm going to put his head like that and then just turn it a little bit. I'm going to twist it sideways some. And I'm just going to keep going down and making them look a little different. Right, then super glue. And you want to drag that onto the top of the head, into the neck piece, and onto the back. You want this to be sturdy and be a good bond. You also want to cover up the ends of the tin foil and add some sturdiness, and that's going to help your cause. Alright, I've blown those off, and I want to see how sturdy my heads are. They're pretty sturdy. I'm going to come underneath real quick, and I am going to do it again with super glue. And I'm going to be a little more liberal with it. I'm just going to kind of get it in there. Okay. Alright, let's set all this off to the side before we start the arms. I got a lot of powder on my desk here, and it's making it hard for me to focus. It bothers me. I don't know why. I'm a messy person sometimes, but this is just irking me. And I got a shot back in here anyways, so we can just throw that on the floor, no problem. Alright, let's see what we got here. Everything's looking pretty sturdy and pretty good. Now we need some hands, and we can just steal these skeleton hands and make these our hands. And we don't really want these weapons mostly, I don't think. So we can just take those off. And use these big cartoony looking hands for their hands. Sometimes you gotta fight with those a little bit to get the weapon out so it doesn't look, you know what I mean? We need 8 hands here. So I'm going to try to use the ones I cut up and get their hands. These ones have a shield though, so we're not going to be able to use those. And that's fine. We'll steal this guy's right hand. We got 2 full sets of hands. We'll get that weapon off. And we need one more set of hands. Let's see, we got a right hand here. And we need a lefty. This guy's got a left hand. And this is not exactly the same size. I wouldn't worry about that, guys. Okay, so we got our hands. And these guys don't really use weapons. They just kind of bash you to death. We're just going to get dabs of glue. Probably got to do these one at a time because it's very small and the glue is going to solidify and dry, cool, or whatever you have it. You know what I mean? All right. This would be a lot easier of a project to do one base at a time than doing it in bulk like I am. I'm noticing that now. Maybe if I had faced them all to the side instead of all in a row like that, it would have been better, but I didn't. So you just learn, you know, as you go, I suppose. One more set. And I don't suppose you guys can even guess what the next step's going to be. But I'll give you guys a second. If you guessed we're going to throw it in the garbage, you're incorrect. If you guessed that we're going to put super glue and baking soda on it, you are correct. Those were the two choices that were going to be available. You want to get a good bit here because you want these to kind of fill out the gaps where the glue doesn't fill in every little seal. There might be a little lip there too where you had too much glue. That's okay, just get it glued up and cover it up. Okay. Now we have no reference art, and I had no idea what I was making. I had an idea in my head of what they might look like, but that was about it. And we are not quite done. So you're going to need super glue for this next part. And first, let's get the minor burning hand spell, and let's take care of this cobweb problem we have, because these spider webs are everywhere. They're just ridiculous. There's so many spider webs that we can't even look at what we're doing. Now, the minor burning hand spell is not for everyone, but it's relatively inexpensive to cast. You buy the component one time, and then you just kind of have it. All right, so as I said, these things are going to be called willows. So my plan to capture that kind of like woodland thing is that they're going to have crazy hair. So I'm going to get the end of this yarn if I can ever find it. This is something Mrs. Doom gave me, this yarn. She crochets. So I am able to get yarn from her pretty easily. However, I don't know how yarn works. Is there an end to pieces? I think I'm... All right, here we go. So I'm going to get the yarn, and I'm going to start cutting it into lengths that I can work with. And we can cut off excess later when we're done. Okay. All right. Now I got yarn everywhere. All right, not a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to get lengths of this. I think maybe 4 would work. So here's how that would look with 3 and 4. We're going to put those ends together in a tight little bundle, and we're going to snip that off. Then we're going to put a dab of glue across the top of their head and their back. We're going to shove that on there and kind of push it down. Okay. Then we're going to snip off about half that length and leave that sit and move on to the next one. We're going to get them all in a line again. We're going to get it tight. We're going to put our glue. Okay. We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to get them in a line, rub them around in that glue, push them in, and get them connected. Then we're going to snip off the excess. I need another piece of yarn. I did not keep the end. I lost the end again. Here we go. We should have enough here to do two more, I should say, of these guys. Okay, so we're going to get those in a line, kind of bunched up. A little tighter than that. There we go. Snip off the excess. You could use any kind of packaging string, or really anything you have for this. You don't need this exact yarn that I have. This is just something I have, you know. You could use twine or whatever, anything that works. You could actually glue these and get an old stuffed animal and shove an old stuffed animal tightly against them, and then let the air dry, or the glue dry, and then pull it off, and it'll actually leave the hairs that you glued behind. So, I mean, there's a lot of options of what you could be doing here, okay? Don't feel like you're locked into what I'm doing exactly. Okay. I'm going to step off the excess. All right, so at this point, where are we at? All right, we're getting close to where we're going to call it. So let's hurry up. Step it up, you. So at this point, what we want to do is we want to get up like a piece of something sharp. I'm just going to use this little tool I have here that has a metal end that's sharp, and we want to rip these apart like this and make them crazy and wild. Okay, just pull these apart some like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, you just want to get them ripped up some. Okay, this will make them not as sturdy. Okay, and then what you want to do is you want to kind of take some of the hair down one side and some down the other side. I think again, I don't know. Yeah, so here's what you want to do now. You want to pull this apart and pull it kind of down and around into different positions, and then hold that in place. Get some dabs of glue. Okay, and just leave that alone for a minute. Then we'll come back and we'll work on the other ones. It's a lot harder than I thought it would be, if we're going to be honest. In my head, this was going to go super good. In reality, it's kind of sucky. Oops. I'm so glad Mrs. Doom gave me this yarn. I've just found tons of uses for it. She has so much, like, I don't think anybody could ever use as much as she has. Because there's like different types. There's wool and cotton and rayon, and I don't know. I'm just making up shit. But there's just a bunch. That one came apart nice. I shouldn't have said anything. That's not going to go down. Okay. Let's get these pieces mushed down how we want them. Try to hold those in place. And then this back one didn't behave, so we're going to try that again. There we go. All right. So there's going to be some touch-up work, obviously. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some more glue. And I'm just going to run it up in some of these areas that I want to save. Like this. Okay. Where I want the crazy hair to be solid and not go away. And then we're going to let that sit for a moment. And it's important that you run it from the inside to out, because we're going to use the minor burning hand spell to remove the excess. So wherever there's no glue when we start this, that stuff's going to get burned away. So if it's not connected at the root, that part will disappear with the rest. Okay? So you need to have... Alright, we're going to let that sit for a moment, and then if you like what I'm doing here, hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell icon. If you feel so inclined, share it with a friend. Leave me a comment. I like comments. Those are cool. Okay. It should be pretty sturdy at this point. There shouldn't be much left that we can't paint at this point. Okay. There they are. They're crazy looking. They're interesting. They're different than anything we have. There's a little bit of a stink with that. I have a giant... You have to understand, I have a big fan like 2 feet from me on the right side here, where I suck all this stuff up. I am going to get a little more glue just to sturdy this stuff up. That's a personal choice. You don't have to. Alright. Now they have crazy hair. And in part 2, we'll come back and we'll paint these dudes up. I'd like to thank you guys so much. Check out the link in the description for the website, the link in the description for the Discord. Come hang out with us, maybe buy some minis. Would really like that. If you don't, we're okay with that too. If you learned something today, that'd be awesome. I'm glad you did. And we'll see you next time on Dungeons & Doom Biscuit while we paint up my willows.